Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Actually, you know what? It's a little warm in here. Let me do something about that. All right, so now we're back. I know some of you noticed a bit of a change. And no, I'm not talking about the bald head. Don't worry, I'm not about to become an evil super billionaire, although the billions would be nice. The eagle eye upon you may actually notice that there's something else different if you look closely. I actually changed my setup behind me, and we're gonna do a quick desk walkthrough just so I can show you guys some of the ways I actually saved money on some of these purchases and a lot of the things that I did to change the workflow now that, of course, I'm using DaVinci Resolve. I wanted to get a little bit better flow going and a little bit better setup, also on a budget, because again, this is not my permanent setup being that we're still in the rental. So let's get cracking. Okay, so here's the star of the show. The Dell U4919 49-inch ultra-wide curved monitor. Admittedly, I didn't purchase this. This was for a project I was working on. And the term project should indicate that this isn't meant to be a gaming monitor. This isn't going to be a gaming setup. This setup is going to be mostly intended for productivity. Of course, I'm going to add some flair to it, but the key purpose of all of the changes I'm making will be to help me be a little bit more productive in my workflow as it pertains to YouTube and my primary job. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start unboxing this monitor so you guys can see what all comes in the packaging with the monitor. Of course, I'm going to be super duper careful with this. This box is extremely heavy, and when the guy delivered it, he even thought it was a TV. I can see why. So laying it on its side is the best option here. And of course, doing this on the floor so I don't drop anything or break anything. Coming in at a price tag of $1,500 at the time of recording, depending on where you're buying it. Of course, I want to be as careful as possible. And voila, sort of. As you can see, there's plenty of compartments, and actually each one is numbered, which I thought was kind of cool. So kind of going in order with step one is obviously get the base, which is extremely heavy. Step two is going to be the monitor arm. And you can see here, this isn't the normal VESA pattern that you would normally see on a VESA mount. So the holes on the back do have the standard 400 by 400 mount, but the actual mount that Dell sends you is a lot wider. I'm assuming it's probably closer to a 600 by 400, but I can measure that later to verify. So step four is going to be all of the cables, power cord, multiple different cables, USB Type-C, DisplayPort, HDMI. Just go ahead and get those out the way. And here is the monitor. And they have this thing in here wrapped pretty well. But I mean, for something so big and expensive that has traveled thousands of miles, you want to protect it as much as possible. And it is not light. It feels extremely delicate, or maybe it's just the weight combined with the price tag that has me concerned. And again, my job was nice enough to get this for me, so I want to be as delicate with it as I can getting it set up. All right. So now that we have all of the wires ran for the different inputs, let me tell you guys why I'm excited to have this on the desk. This monitor has a built-in KVM. So that, along with my CalDigit TS3 Plus dock, will allow me to switch between my MacBook Pro and my Dell XPS work laptop. With the fact that the monitor also has USB Type-C and power delivery built into it, I can plug the MacBook Pro directly into the monitor and have the XPS go into the TS3 Plus, because the TS3 Plus has a bit higher power output. Couple that with the built-in KVM, I can use the same keyboard and mouse between both the MacBook and the work PC at the same time. So as soon as 5 o'clock rolls around, I can switch to my quote unquote hobby job, or one of my hobby jobs. You guys can see the Key X Max 3D printer right off to the left, which will also be serving functions from this little command center I'm working on building. All right, time to swap out my keyboard and mouse. I'm gonna be swapping out my Logitech Craft keyboard and my Logitech MX Master 3 mouse. And when you see what I'm swapping with, you may question it, but follow me for a minute here. I'm gonna go with the Keychron K6 65% keyboard for space saving. And I'm gonna go with the Corsair Dark Core RGB Pro SE. But this one has key wireless charging built in. And when you set it on a key wireless charger, you notice the light change from green to blue, meaning it's charging. That's going to be invaluable on my desktop setup, to be able to wirelessly charge my mouse and to have a keyboard that's a lot smaller and takes up a lot less space. All right. So since we got the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor and it's kind of a mobile setup, and I decided to go ahead and get a Apple Magic Trackpad 2 for the desk, it's time to start cleaning some stuff up and making things a little bit more functional. So unfortunately, we no longer need the Griffin PowerMate, even though it's kind of a cool little gadget. We're also going to take this Stream Deck and do something a little different from it. So you guys know what that means. It is time to turn on the 3D printer and get cracking. All right, so here we are a few hours later and we have a successful prototype. Never mind the dirty 3D printer. All right, so now we're ready to get this part of the desk set up. The Magic Trackpad fits in there like so. And now for the Stream Deck. Let's go ahead and get it and run the cable through. Cable's gonna come out the back and then plug into our monitor, just like that. And now we are ready to plug it in. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. And just like that, we are ready to roll. So now I'll have all the functionality of the Magic Trackpad and the Stream Deck in one little nice console. Again, really happy with this. Okay, and now for a little bit of a subtle touch with the laser engraver. I went ahead and got a dual laptop stand for my work laptop and my MacBook. And we're just gonna engrave the Idea logo on here. And as you can see, that's pretty quick. We're gonna go ahead and move the laser just so you guys can get a look at what's on here. You can only see it in the right light. There you go. All right, so for my monitor arm, I went with the mount up ultra wide single monitor arm. Admittedly, it's not for a 49-inch, but I figure with the weight of the monitor by itself, as well as the piston spring inside of this monitor arm, it'd be a good choice. And we could just kind of test it out, especially at about $50 with the coupon. This was a decent buy that I figured could be useful, especially if at some point I downsize or downscale to a smaller monitor if I have to return this 49-inch to work. So let's go ahead and get this box cracked open and just kind of show you guys around. So all of these parts are pretty heavy duty, and I'm happy with that, with the one exception of the actual pivot point for the monitor. Here's the basically the piston and the base, and then there's the bracket. And that's pretty much everything in the box. All right, so continuing down the budget train, we have a box from Temu. And in that box is, let me get my knife. In that box is just some RGB monitor lights to go behind this 49-inch monitor. Of course, when you're doing a desk setup like this, you gotta, jazz it up just a little bit. And I believe these lights were like probably $5 or less than $5. Again, normally I'd probably say go with a Govee set, but since this is definitely not a permanent setup and I anticipate moving at some point, I don't want to do anything permanent on the wall or behind the monitor. So for now, we're just going to go with this $5 Temu special. It has a little app that you can sync to the lights. But for now, we're just going to let them rotate, and it's just USB powered. There's a little button on it to change the settings, or you can go into the app and change the settings. Comes with these little stands in case you want to stand them up. You can point them toward the wall like that. But since we have our monitor on a monitor arm, we're going to go ahead and just either use this 3M or use some separate 3M tape, and probably just 3M tape them somewhere near the arm or maybe on the back of the monitor with an adhesive tape that's easy to remove. All right, and now for an item I'm actually probably the most excited about. This is called the Quick Draw, and I have the 2-pack here, and it's made by a company called Elevation Lab. Again, easy find on Amazon. It was about $20. And what this actually does is it sticks under the desk, and it's actually going to be used for cable management for cables that you often move. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in just a few seconds, as soon as I get the packaging open. So, of course, you see a lot of 3M tape. So each of the larger pieces are actually spring loaded, and you basically just wrap the cable around these channels. And then the little square part in the middle allows you to release the cable, basically, release the Kraken, but release the cable from its tension. So, for example, this guy, we're going to peel off the 3M tape and stick it right here. And just press it a little firmly just to make sure it's stuck. And then it has a little cable manager that I'm going to stick a little bit further back. Now, the first one's going to be for my audio cable coming from my Scarlett Focusrite that I'm going to use for whenever I'm doing any type of voiceovers or anything like that, and I want to just listen to my audio. So I'm just going to thread the cable in there like that, and there's my headphone jack. And then from there, you just push open the spring-loaded side. And it's actually wide enough to where you can actually run the cable around a few times. All right, so now we're going to take our 3.5 millimeter and plug it into our 1/4-inch adapter in our USB audio interface and go back to the bottom of the desk. So now you can see everything kind of cable managed, and we can just pull on this 3.5 millimeter cable and it'll come loose, or you can use the little switch adapter to untension it. And that's it. All right, so next up, I went on to Thingiverse and found this little simple file for headphone hangers. 3D printed it, put a little bit of 3M tape on the bottom of there, and now it is ready to go under the desk. Gonna put this to the right of our quick draw and just stick it into place about there. Give it a little firm press. Let's go ahead and raise the desk up so you guys can get a little bit of a better look. And then we can just go ahead and put our Sony headphones right there, ready to go. All right, so with everything else we're doing on the desk, it's time to address this microphone, especially since we have our audio interface back on the desk. Even though I love my Rode Wireless Go 2 with my Rode Video Mic Go 2 setup, I think we need something that's a little bit more stable and clear, at least for voiceover and for recording purposes on the desk. So we're gonna go with the Fine K688. This mic has been compared in a lot of circles as a budget version of the classic Shure SM-B7. So I'll definitely be excited to get this open and see what the quality of this mic is like. So let's go ahead and get it unboxed and see what all comes in the box. So at a price point of about 70 bucks, you really can't complain. Here's some literature for it. And here's the mic. It does feel pretty premium. Comes with the USB Type-C cable, and you have your XLR here, your USB Type-C, and your volume and mic control. There's your thread to put it on a mic stand or a mic boom arm like we have here. Now, with that being said, the Shure SM7B runs about 300 to 400 bucks, depending on where you're looking. I'm just threading on the adapter to go from 1/4 to our full size thread. And with this mic being less than a fourth of that cost, I mean, a lot of the videos I've seen, on YouTube, in fact, actually state that this mic is pretty comparable. You may have to do some tweaks to get the same exact sound profile, but just out of the box, it's very much so comparable, especially to the untrained ear. And what I'm doing here, I don't claim to be, audio professional, but we are definitely going to upgrade our sound with this mic as opposed to using something that's not intended for the purposes we're using it for. With the built-in shock mount, I'm definitely excited to see how this mic handles, especially with me being clumsy sometimes and bumping the desk in the middle of recording. So right now I'm just adjusting of course, the tension on the thread, trying to get it in the right position. And just going to get it kind of set up where I want it. And I think we are pretty much ready to go with the mic. All right, so this part's a little bittersweet. I've had this mouse pad for quite some time now, and of course, it's one of my favorite characters. But to preserve it, to make sure that it doesn't get any major stains or damage on it, I'm gonna go ahead and swap it out and put it back in the case it came in. And in its place, I'm gonna set up a temporary mouse pad. I'll probably be swapping out my mouse pad a little bit more regularly. In fact, I'm looking at potentially working with a company that makes mouse pads to see if I can do a video on their mouse pad specifically and maybe do some variations of what they have out on the market. But in the meantime, I grabbed a quick mouse pad, of course, on Amazon of one of my new kind of sort of favorite characters that kind of goes with the color scheme that I have and that I'm kind of starting to form here on the desk. Of course, I'm still going to leave some of this other Black Panther stuff like my background, my little figurine, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in the tube that I got from Drop when I received it. So this will give me a little bit of an opportunity to share my anime nerd side with everyone here on YouTube. And for those who are unaware, this character's name is Zenitsu. Uh, a bit controversial selection of an anime character, as most people say he's a bit polarizing as far as his power set, but I digress. We won't go too deep into that. But I think it complements the purple and gold accents on my desk quite well. If you know me, you know why purple and gold. All right, and last but not least, the piece de resistance, the last piece I feel of this desk project that makes it more so complete. After extensive searching, including on my work trips, everywhere from Richmond to Tampa, Florida, Orlando, Denver, pretty much all across the US, going to every guitar center and audio shop nearby, and a good bit of searching on the internet, I finally found something that I feel like makes this desk setup complete. And of course, that's a pair of reference monitors for listening to audio when I don't have my headphones on, just to kind of see how they'll sound to you guys as we play it back. And I found a pretty nice set of Mackie CR3s in a more so limited colorway without the green. It's very subtle with the gold trim. Again, kind of playing into the purple and gold on the desk. Just a very subtle hint. You can see the Mackie logo here. I may actually try to pop that out and 3D print my own little logo to go in there, but we'll see how that turns out. I think this actually sets the desk off quite nice and makes it look complete. All right, so flipping around to the back of the CR3s, I'm gonna get a little bit closer here. You can see it comes with left and right balanced inputs as well as your RCA inputs, as well as an output to the passive speaker. Now you can make the passive the left hand or the right hand speaker. I really prefer having separate balanced inputs, but at 74 bucks, I definitely can't complain. This was a nice find on eBay, and I'm pleased with the quality and the build. And here's a quick shot of the passive speaker, which just has speaker wire inputs on the back. Okay, so let's look at what we actually spent upgrading the items on this desk. The monitor was about $1,500, but since I got that free from work, we're not going to include this in the list. Next up was the keyboard, coming in at about $80 on sale, of course. The mouse should have been $90, but we got it for $60 renewed on Amazon. The key wireless charging pad was about $13. The dual laptop stand was about $15. The monitor arm was $50. The Temu lights were $15. The quick draw for a pack of two was $20. The mic arm itself was $45, and then the mic came in at $70, with the desk pad itself being $15, and then the speakers rounding it out at $74, which brings us to a grand total of $457, give or take a couple of dollars on shipping. And for the premium alternatives for most of these items, we would have been looking at about $653, which gives us a net total savings of about $196. I think that's a very fair trade-off for the quality of the items that we actually did purchase and the use case in which we'll be using them in. Which goes to show if you look hard enough, you can still find quality items that'll fit your need and your budget at the same time. All right, everybody, that's gonna do it for this one. Hopefully you guys liked the video, and hopefully you also picked up some tips and tricks on your quest for your ultimate desk setup. In the next couple of videos, we're probably gonna switch it up a little bit more and just do some simple things, especially with my travel schedule and my primary job. I haven't had as much time to do complicated videos like this. This took a couple of months just on and off being home and not being home. So we're gonna try to switch it up a little bit, make things a little bit easier and a little bit easier to digest. See you guys on the next one. Later.